Hey, everybody. Great to see all y'all out there in Son of Sam land. Hope everyone's doing well. It's great to see you as usual. And hey, we got an epic one for you today, guys. Today is it's all about, well, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You know, when I started this video series in March of 2021, the whole point was just to be a visual accompaniment to my favorite book of all time. And what was that favorite book? Well, I think you know what that favorite book was. That book was called The Ultimate Evil by Maury Terry. Yes, I admit it. I was once a massive Terry head, probably one of the biggest around. Oh, I would fight you. How dare anyone ever would insinuate that Maury Terry wasn't telling the absolute truth? God help anybody who said that Mr. Real Estate was not in Untermeyer Park and that whole story was BS. And woe betide the person who dared to utter that there was no cult. It was unheard of to me at that point. And of course, I went out and I started the video series because I was always a little bit, well, let's just say unsatisfied with the visuals in The Ultimate Evil. So that was the whole point of starting it. Never planned to investigate, never planned to become, well, such a polarizing figure in the Son of Sam community, but one whose work I believe has been vindicated, and one whose work, along with the work of the awesome people that I have working with me, I think our video series is going to stand the test of time. And part of it is because, well, we got our finger on the pulse of this story. Once we realized that Maury Terry was a colossal bullshit artist, once we had absolute proof of this, we just went for it. We were not afraid. And of course, we tackled the third rail of Son of Sam. John Catalano and I, my co-host, we have put together so far 3 parts of the Brooklyn series, and today is the cherry on top before we move on to another shooting next week. Today we are going to be looking at a Google Earth examination of the Brooklyn scene. And I just think that this is going to be really helpful to everybody out there. I just want to say before I introduce my co-host, John, I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Ruby, the great Ruby. We got Zach. We got Sue. We got Satan X. We got Moet. We got Dave, Mike, Zach. The gang is all here. My apologies to anybody who I missed. But I don't like sitting here and reading names forever and ever. It just, well, it's amateur hour, it's quite frankly. But we thank you for all your wonderful support. We wouldn't be doing this without you, and we really appreciate it. But as I like to say, it isn't about me. It's about we. So, may I introduce to you a person who has quickly rose to the top ranks of the Son of Sam research community, a person whose finger is also directly on the pulse of this story, a person who gets it, a person who I am proud to call a friend of mine and my co-host on this historic Brooklyn series, the great, the one. Moet, I think you're going to get ready for this one. The only. There he is, John Catalano. Hey, John, how are you, sir?
Good evening, everyone.
So, John, we got an epic one for you today. Talk to me.
You have the nicest people in the chat that I've ever met, and smart and polite. No fighting. It's really a great crowd.
We definitely have noticed that for sure, and of course, I appreciate them as well. Really, just a fantastic fan base, a fantastic group of people, and also people whose fingers are on the pulse, and people who get it. So it's just a great family. It's just a great community that we've built here. And thanks for recognizing that, John. And I'm sure the audience is very happy. Well, John, this is the cherry on top of the Brooklyn series, and I gotta say, I don't know what feedback you're getting, but I feel that not even a subtle shift in the force has occurred. I feel that a tectonic shift has occurred in the Son of Sam world because of this. I think this Brooklyn series finally broke the dam. Maybe I'm taking credit. Maybe I'm tooting my own horn and our own horn a little bit. But I have a feeling, and especially from some of the comments I'm reading around internet land, that we've done something special, that we have finally and officially broken the veil of the ultimate evil. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, everybody really loves how we laid out the reports and kind of made like a somewhat of a timeline. But I have to tell you, when I was reading the Ultimate Evil, uh, all the scenes, including Untermeyer, you have this visualization in your head of what these places look like,
Mm-hmm.
but there's nothing like seeing. And of course, I would see newspaper clips, but there's nothing like seeing these scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we had to postpone our live walk through the park because it's under construction. But I think everybody's going to agree this is fantastic. And I only wish I had this while I was reading, because it definitely helps when you know exactly what these scenes look like and how far apart stuff is from each other. So I think
Exactly.
everybody's going to really love this. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the feedbacks I got in the beginning part of my series, once I was showing Untermeyer and especially the shooting scenes, was, wow, it looks nothing like what I envisioned in my head, and the same was true for me. I mean, I knew Untermeyer going back to the '90s. I mean, here's
Right.
a picture. This picture that I started the show with, I took this picture in 1997. But and of course, here I am leading a tour group in the year 2021, which was always great. Which was fun to do. That was a fantastic tour. But I was shocked when I first went out to the shooting scenes because, well,
It's never what you pictured in
it's
your
never
head.
what you think, right?
Yeah.
And you also can see, and I noticed right away how close they were to highway entrances,
Yes.
how ease of access, and that's going to be even true today, I think. You and I briefly talked about it, and of course we'll show the crowd, but this whole notion of the sodium street lamp and this and the snuff film, and the only reason why Stacy and Robert were shot was because they were under that street lamp. I think once we all see the scene, that's gonna be another lie that's gonna be put to rest. But
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we know why they were selected.
exactly, and we'll talk about that when we get into it. But yeah, it's short of actually going to the Brooklyn scene, which, believe me, I've been wanting to do, but listen, with gas prices, what they are, my car recently died. I also, quite
You just
frankly,
can't get in.
it's a
It's
pain,
fenced off. Yeah.
and it's fenced off anyway. Even if I wanted to do it, which I do, even if I could, I can't, because it's fenced off and they're redoing the place. So the next best thing is Google Earth, and what I've done for all of you guys is I've put together, with the help of John, of course, as my inspiration and guide in this. I put together a show for you today that basically covers all the scenes that we talked about in the first three shows. We're going to once again re-examine those police files. We're not going to read them like we did, but we're just going to look at the addresses on them and maybe comment on them here and there. And then we're going to just show you the scene. I've taken every police report and every pertinent story and plotted it on a Google Earth map, which I've done right here. Now, so why don't we just get into it, John, for the crowd? And of course, again, thanks for everybody. Chris Banks has a yellow VW Beetle for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
What
jokes
would be
all
your
come
next
in.
car?
Yeah, that's gonna be my next car for sure.
Or a Galaxy, or what was it, 1970 yellow Galaxy?
Yellow Ford Galaxy, yeah, cream colored. But and I'll even make sure I get a little replica of the parking ticket also. That'd be fun. Actually, I was looking the other day. I put it on my Twitter. There's a freaking action figure of Disco Dave Berkowitz. This is insane.
I know. It's crazy. It has it.
It's just totally crazy. All right, guys. Well, let's just get into it, John. And of course, let's chime in at any moment, my friend, and that you want to mention something. But I'll just get the party started here. Well, what we're seeing here, guys, of course, is a Google Earth image of, well, the New York City metropolitan region. Okay, and what I am doing right now is I am circling with my cursor the 5 boroughs of New York City. Okay, and remember, we cannot assume that everybody knows this. This is a regional story, but people are watching from all over the world. So one thing that I want to show, of course, this is the Bronx right here. Okay, this is the borough where I am at right now. And this area of the Bronx over here is where Disco Dave grew up. Well, he actually grew up down here in the Soundview section of the Bronx, and then he moved up to here to Co-op City. And of course, he moved to New Rochelle, which is up here, right above the Bronx in Westchester. Okay. And then of course he ended up here, up in Yonkers, way up here. But but here's Manhattan. Here's the island of Manhattan. And a lot of people don't realize that Manhattan is an island. But if you look at it, it's very clear to see that Manhattan is surrounded by water. Okay. And you can see this right up here. Okay. And then, of course, the Bronx goes all the way down to here. And then we have Queens up here, which goes to about here. And then this is Long Island right over here, Nassau County. And then down here is Brooklyn, the famous Brooklyn. And it's a huge, humongous borough of New York City. That's what we call the counties of New York City. We call them boroughs. And right here, just to complete the circle, is Staten Island, which in my opinion is the coolest borough right now of New York City, because it's where all the based people live. It's where all my conservative brothers and sisters live, people who live in the reality based world. I live in a neighborhood that's gone, man. I mean, this place is anyway. So I figured we would start up here at Disco Dave's place, just to show you how far he had to travel. And of course, right up here is the Pine Street neighborhood of Yonkers. Here's Disco Dave's right here. That was 35 Pine Street. This is old news to heads who've watched my show forever. Here, and of course, here's the Carr House, and here's the Netto House. And one thing I want to show is visually how far Untermeyer Park. Before we get into Brooklyn, John, please forgive me. This is just hitting me now.
No, please. This was great.
Yeah, how far Untermeyer Park actually is from this house, because Maury Terry made it seem like it was just like right down the road, and these guys could just, walk their dogs there and then carry dog carcasses back. But here's Disco Dave's place, Untermeyer Park. I haven't even gotten to it yet. Where the hell is it? It's up here. Here's Untermeyer Park right up here. Okay. The famous 1,000 steps and so on and so forth. So you can see Untermeyer Park is actually quite a distance from Disco Dave's place.
Now, hold on a second, Manny.
Yeah.
On one of your walk talk videos, you actually walked past Berkowitz and the cars, and you walked to Untermeyer. You walked all that way?
That ain't nothing for me, my man. But to a mere mortal, that's actually a pretty decent walk. That's about a mile, maybe a little over a mile.
Oh, nice walk. And you did it pretty quick. I didn't realize it was that far away. You see, this is what I mean. This is so great for people to see.
It's very far away. So Untermeyer is I'm just trying to see it here. Here it is. Just if we're far up, here's Untermeyer and here's this right here. And I would measure it, but I don't want to risk screwing up the program. But it's about a mile on the Aqueduct Trail. So it's not anything anything close. And I think that's really instructive for people to see, the people of the world to see, because, well, quite frankly, Maury Terry, he kind of skewed our vision there on that. But we are here, of course, to talk not necessarily about Yonkers, but about Brooklyn, of course. And Brooklyn, boy, is it far. Wow, look how far Disco Dave had to travel that night. What a devious guy. It looks like we're having some issues with our stream. If there's any dropouts, I don't know what's going on, but I think we're still okay. Restream just gave me a little notice saying they're having some connection issues, but I'm just looking here. I think we're all right. Anyhow, so what I've done for you guys again is I've put together the police reports from the first 3 shows, and we're just going to show you these scenes in very methodical and logical fashion. So why don't we just get started with the beginning, John? Where we're talking about, well, of course, Cecilia Davis, right? And the famous Cecilia Davis story and all that kind of stuff. Well, here it is. And of course, 262 Bay 17th Street is where Cecilia Davis lived. So I got it all in order for you. Oh, yes. Yes. All right. Well, first of all, let's do an overview of this neighborhood. Now, John, you here's Cecilia Davis's right here. Okay. Now, John, you're from the neighborhood. So
Yeah.
before I continue along with this and showing people, why don't you just give us a general overview, talk about this neighborhood, where it is in Brooklyn, what kind of neighborhood it was, give us a little bit of sociological background on this, cultural anthropology background, talk about the neighborhood in the 70s, be fairly brief, but let the audience kind of like know what we're seeing here, what kind of neighborhood this was, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so the park is in Bath Beach, which is basically on the coastal end. It will be the end of Bensonhurst, Dyker Heights, that touches the coast that the Belt Parkway travels on.
So the Belt Parkway, so it's just for people to understand, the Belt Parkway, because these are words that we read in the Ultimate Evil, but it's good for people to see it. The Belt Parkway is right here. And why is it called the Belt Parkway?
I'm not exactly sure, actually.
I was hoping that was a softball I was throwing you.
Yeah, but it connects to Queens.
But it goes around like a belt. That's why.
Okay.
It goes around the borough like a belt. So if you see it here, like it continues up here and here, and then it makes a complete circle and it goes back around again, and then here it is again. So it's called the Belt Parkway because it wraps around Brooklyn and Queens like a belt. Anyway, carry on.
Yes, and if you take it towards the west, it connects you to the Gowanus, which takes you to Manhattan, either one of the bridges or the tunnels. So it's basically a coastal road that goes around the perimeter of the island. Back in the 70s, during this time frame, it was predominantly Italian American. I'd say Italian American, Irish, Jewish, that type of neighborhood. It was a very small town type of neighborhood.
Let's take a little walk down onto the streets of this neighborhood here.
Yes.
So we can see that this neighborhood is predominantly dominated by these little townhouses.
Working middle class people.
And predominantly Italian?
In the 70s and 80s, yes. That's changed now.
Now, one thing that I was thinking about when when we did our show last week was this whole notion of like people going out at 2:15 in the morning to like go to their mother's house. And I was like, yo, when did people sleep, bro? But then I was thinking to the movie Goodfellas, and I don't want to, of course, characterize Italians with mobsters. It's not what I'm doing here. But I remember there was the scene in Goodfellas where they just killed Billy Batts and they have him in the trunk of the car. And then they go to the mother's house and it's like 3 in the morning and she makes them dinner or early breakfast or whatever. And I was just thinking, well, that captured that very well in that scene, I think.
Well, once again, especially in the late 70s and 80s, it was a heavily organized crime infiltrated neighborhood, and which in turn made it a very safe neighborhood. It was very, very rare to hear about a mugging, a rape, an assault in Bath Beach or in Bensonhurst back in those times. And I hate to use this as a reference, but if you remember the Son of Sam movie, when they were that Spike Lee disaster, where there were literally gangs of vigilantes roaming neighborhoods, that's not so far fetched at this time period. They, that's the kind of neighborhood it was.
Right.
So when people think it's strange that there was a lot of activity all hours of the night, it was a very safe neighborhood. Quite honestly.
Well, one of the things that I want to show the audience just as an overview, because again, I took every police report that was pertinent to our story and I plotted it on the map here. How much activity there was going on at 2 in the morning on July 31st, 1977. There were people out, there were cars everywhere, there were people hanging out at houses. I mean, it was a hopping neighborhood. And I think just visually seeing all these blue dots here, which we'll look at in more detail, each one of them, I think this gives a good overview on how busy this neighborhood was. Because as we said last week, John, I always thought that The only people at this Brooklyn scene were Robert and Stacy, Tommy Zano, and the cult, and that's it. No one else was there.
As Berkowitz said in his own words, at the top of the park, there were plenty of young kids hanging around their cars. And as we know from all the police reports, there was a lot of activity. So, yeah.
Exactly. All right, so let's go down. I'm sorry. Finish that thought and let's go down and see Cecilia Davis's.
Yeah, you could easily be deceived to be thinking it was desolate at that shooting scene.
Right. Exactly. I want to just get to Cecilia Davis's here. All right. So we're now on Bay 17th Street, right in front of Cecilia Davis's apartment. Okay. So this is the apartment that she lived in. Now, interestingly enough, remember that she was 75 yards north of the vehicle, according to the Ultimate Evil, a passage which none of us ever thought about, but then it hit us like a ton of bricks in our first show.
Yes.
She was just too damn far from the fire hydrant. So let's go to the next graphic overlay, which is of course the hydrant, which is 290 Bay 17th Street. Okay, so it's the same street, just down the block. So Cecilia Davis lives here, 62. Okay.
Yes.
Maybe even a little bit further up, because I'm not sure if I have it exactly on where the blue dot was. Let's go here. Let's look here, right? 268. Okay. So this is probably 262 right here. This is her front entrance. All right. So let's head down to the fire hydrant. The famous fire hydrant. Look how far it is. How could she have seen details this far away at 2:30 in the morning?
So if you want to go back, we could probably use the white car as a reference to realize how far.
Which one?
Away well,
back to Cecilia Davis's?
Yes.
Oh, whoops. It took us out of there, but let me get back in there. Hold on.
Just so you can see how far away it is.
Yeah, let me get back in. Yeah. All right. So here's Cecilia Davis's again.
Right.
Right in this area here. All right. So which white car? Well, here, look, double parked.
That's
it's a sign.
What was his name?
Howard Bohan.
That's Howard Bohan.
That's Howard Bohan right here. Now, first of all, there's plenty of room, by the way, in the street for cars to get by, even if they're triple parked.
Yeah,
so
Manny,
I don't know what.
That never made sense to me. I've never heard of triple parking. I've heard of double parking, which is what that car is.
Nobody triple parks.
Nobody gets by, so nobody would triple park.
Nobody does it.
Cops are roaming around.
Exactly. I've never heard of anybody triple parking and blocking the street for any more than like a second to let someone off. But this is interesting. This is a little sign. So here's 262. So let's go down to 290. Again, look how far it is, guys. And I'm not making this up. These are the numbers that we were given, the addresses that we were given. Okay. It's not like I'm making this up or I'm manipulated. There's the fire hydrant.
Yes.
Okay. Now we can look down the block to see how far. We can't even see. Dude.
Right.
We can't even see. Oh, it's looking like this might have been done on different days.
Maybe. But
yeah.
The point is, the distance is the same and it was dark. So
there's no way she could have made out those details.
It's a little tough to believe.
All right. Well, there is where at least we know where Disco Dave parked his car and where Cecilia Davis was double parked. And again, I always thought that Cecilia Davis was double parked right here at the fire hydrant.
Right.
Because even though Maury told us 75 yards, it just that just always went over my head. I don't know exactly why. All right, well, let's carry it on. So the next thing we have here is the famous story of the young girl seeing a yellow Volkswagen with a guy in sunglasses. And of course, I think Maury Terry used that because of the sunglasses issue, which could connect to the yellow Volkswagen here, where a guy was seen with sunglasses. He wasn't even seen in the yellow Volkswagen with sunglasses. It was just a guy crossing the highway with sunglasses. But that's a whole other story. So here we have that story. Now, I found it very interesting that this took place. Well, actually, it wasn't that far away. I thought it was further away. But here it is. The girl sees the yellow Volkswagen here. So here's the center of activity. Okay.
Yes.
Right here. And then the girl sees the yellow VW here. All right, so it's right down the block. There was a yellow VW there that night. There's no doubt. There might have been 2 or 3 actually, but there definitely was one. Doesn't mean that there was any nefarious activity, but this is where the girl sees the yellow VW right here. Okay, so let's carry on because that's not really a very interesting part of the story. So now we have the Barnes and her lost bracelet. So she's in the park. So now we're going to introduce you guys to the park. Okay. And so when they're at the park, they see a Volkswagen Beetle pull up to the entrance, and 2 people emerge from the car and walk to the park. The Barnes continue this. They leave the area at 1:15. Now, we know that they actually left the area at 12:55 because that's what the police report says. Maury Terry advanced them later into the park, I think, to fool us, to hoodwink us, but that's a whole other story. So let's find out where the Barnes were. All right, the Barnes were right here. Right here, the Barnes. Okay, so they might have been over here, okay, but they said that they were roughly about here. Now, where is the spot? So here's the famous park, right, John? This is the park where all this took place?
Yes.
And what's this park called?
Well, we used to refer to it as 17th Avenue Park, but I'm actually not sure if there's an official Parks Department name to it, to be honest.
Right, yeah. Huh?
Do you know the name?
I don't know. I maybe Bath Beach Park. I don't know. I have no clue.
Yeah.
But I figured maybe you knew. But yeah, a lot of times that happens. Parks are known by colloquial local names rather than their official name. So no biggie. But so the Barnes were in this park somewhere, sitting on a bench, and then they came back to look for their bracelet, and they see a yellow Volkswagen, and here's the park entrance right here. Okay. So let's get down to the street view and see where the Barnes were. All right, so the Barnes were right here. Okay, and so they could see someone in a yellow Volkswagen get out and go into the park, which is right over here. Okay, so there's just an overview of the park, and of course down here you have the highway and you have the bay, or is that the ocean?
That is the ocean.
That's the ocean.
The Belt Parkway, yes.
Right, and that's the Belt Parkway right there. It's Diker Street Park. Lydia Lilly just looked it up.
Oh, they call it Diker Street? Wow. All locals refer to it as 17th Avenue Park. So that's
right.
Yeah.
Of course. All right, so that's where the Barnes were. Okay, in our story, the Barnes were there. Now, the next part of our story is who is this? The Spinelli, the tow truck driver.
Yes.
So he states that he was parked Sunday morning at about 1:30 on the Parkway side of Shore Parkway Road by a hole in the fence when he notices a 72 or 73 yellow VW on the playground side of Short Parkway. Now, it doesn't give exact addresses here, but so I just had to basically kind of like, assume where he was. And I put Spagnola right about here.
I think I can help a little bit.
Okay.
I remember someone reported that the hole in the fence was 45 yards behind Violante's car.
45 yards behind Violante's car. Okay, yeah. So that puts him then around here in this area,
right,
where he was parked. So he was parked basically across the street from the Barnes, a little bit up the road. So we can move this thing. I can't do it right now, and I don't want to screw up my everything. But we can put Spagnola now. Then he's over here, like where this blue car is right here.
Yes.
All right, and then the Barnes are right here. So we can see neighborhood people in the neighborhood just sort of hanging out, lining up, using, just chilling out on this service road here. And of course, shit's about to go down.
Yes.
All right, now what do we got in here? So person who states that she and her husband, okay, so this is the Raymonds. Oh wait, no, I have one before. I have Don Sherriman. So here's Don Sherriman. On August 1st, 1977, the undersigned interviewed the subject so this is the guy who was driving on the Belt Parkway,
Yeah.
and he was passing by the overpass, the 17th Avenue overpass, and observed a male, white, with shirt out of pants, sunglasses, carrying a brown paper bag under his arm, not carrying it in his hand. I think that was a very huge thing that Maury Terry left out. So this guy Sherman now, okay, so he's driving on the Shore Parkway.
Yes, westbound on the Bell Parkway, which is towards Manhattan. So
right,
he was in the right lane, and he
correct.
had a perfect view of who's on the side of the road.
So right, he's down here. I mistakenly put him here, but he's actually down here.
Yes,
he's driving westbound, which is this way,
and that's the overpass, the bridge.
And this is the famous overpass that was written about in The Ultimate Evil. Okay, that takes you to the shore right here. Robert and Stacy were seen on this. So this cat that Don Sherman saw, and again, he was driving here. He must have seen him around here. Now, why the hell would a guy be on the here when he could just go over the overpass? But I guess we'll never know that, right?
Yeah, it really doesn't make a lot of sense, especially 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, unless you have a death wish.
It doesn't make any sense, right? But in either case, this guy was seen, sunglasses, and for all we know, he might have been the same person that Michelle Michaels saw, so many blocks away in another yellow Volkswagen. But what's interesting is that the guy who got here, that Don Sherman saw, John, he must have gotten in there through the same hole in the fence that Spagnola was parked next to.
Correct. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So we're piecing together this scene. There must have been a hole in the fence somewhere around here. Spagnola's parked here in his tow truck. Sherman is down here.
Yes.
So the guy must have gotten in there somehow. Who knows? Maybe there was some drug stash there. The Maury cult people will say that's where the gun was hidden. That's where the gun was hidden. Yeah, as if they're gonna hide a gun in a park, and that anyone could just come across. So anyway, we're setting up this scene. So there's quite a few people down here. Now I think we should also show, basically it behooves us to show where Robert and Stacy were, right?
Yes.
So why don't we trace their activity a little bit through the night? So all right. So we're here now in this neighborhood, 17th Avenue Park, Bath Beach, whatever it's called. We have Cecilia Davis over here. We have all of these people setting up here, seeing yellow Volkswagens at like 11:30 at night, 12:30 in the evening, 2 hours away, 1 in the morning, right? Robert and Stacy, what were they doing at this point? Well, they were going to the movies. And check out where they were going to the movies. They were going to the movies way, way, way far away. They were going to the movies at Kings Highway, and what was it again? Kings Highway and
the Kingsway.
And Coney,
Kingsway
at the Kingsway movie theater, which I don't think is there anymore to this day. But this is that intersection, Kings Highway and Coney Island Avenue. It might have been in here. This looks like it could have been a former movie theater.
Yes. It might actually have been on Coney Island, on Kings Highway. It's been a long time since I was there, so
it was right.
If it's still there, it will be on Kings Highway, I think.
It would be on Kings Highway. So it was generally in this region. But one thing I want people to understand is that this is a hike from the area where we were just at. Okay, let me just take it far out and go back to where's our area? Hold on. Okay, let me just flip this around so I'm like getting my orientation correct.
Yes.
Okay, so now south is south and north is north. So Robert and Stacy are going to the movies way, way up here. So they're not even anywhere near this scene. And this is where Robert Violante lived, and this is where Stacy Moskowitz lived. So Robert Violante lived fairly close to the scene here.
Yes.
That was his house right there. And then Stacy Moskowitz lived, I guess, in sort of a similar neighborhood. But this is where Stacy Moskowitz lived. So they were staying in their neighborhood. They were sticking around to their general neighborhood. Now, why would they go so far down to this spot? Was it, John, do you have any clue as to why they would go here as opposed to like here or anywhere else?
Because Robert was from Bensonhurst, and at that time period,
Mm-hmm.
That the spot at the park was the Lover's Lane. There's no doubt about that.
So so the neighborhood knew that this area down here by the park, where we'll go back to, particularly this road right here, Shore Parkway.
Yes.
That's where it was known to be a lover's lane. Now,
people,
one thing
people would park, they would walk over the bridge holding hands, go to the water, come back to the park. Some people would go on swings or sit on benches, but it was definitely that was definitely the Lover's Lane.
Right. And it makes sense because it's out of the way and, and whatnot. Hold on. Mistake. I took myself onto the Belt Parkway. I want to show everybody now where Robert and Stacy were parked, because yes. I think that this is going to be very instructive to understand that I think we were bullshitted about this whole snuff film. So Stacy and Robert were parked literally right here where this silver car is.
Yes.
I'm curious to see if that S is still on the
it is not.
S, it isn't.
No.
All right, so that now it's all of a sudden a Honda. So this is the light that they were parked next to, and it's not. You're right. Now check this out. Notice how close it is to the overpass, right?
Yes.
Okay, and if we take it a little farther out, we can see the overpass is right there. The parking, they were parked right here, and of course, David Berkowitz recount the story as we know it, that about like why he chose Robert and Stacy.
Well, according to the Ultimate Evil, it's because they were under the lights, and that this was actually being filmed as some kind of a snuff film. But in reality, if we turn our heads to the right now,
there's the entrance to the park.
The truth is, they were the easy target, easy access, easy exit.
Yep. I think that that's absolutely the case.
I don't think it has anything to do with lighting. If anything, I'm sure he would have preferred there to be even less lighting.
Less lighting, exactly. Because remember he said that he was originally going to choose Zano, who was parked underneath this light, who then moved up further up the street. Zano was probably like 3 cars, maybe 4 cars ahead.
Yeah, 2 to 3, I think he said. 2 to 3.
So then he aborted Zano, and so his obsession was this area. I don't think it had anything to do with the street lamp, other than the street lamp was the obvious marker there. I think it had everything to do with the fact that he could shoot them right where my hand is here, right?
Yes.
That's where he stood. And then all he has to do is turn the hell around and run right back into the park, where he then runs through the paddle. We'll do that a little later, where he runs through the paddleball courts and then back to his car. All possible if you look at this scene, in definitely in a minute or less. So I think that we've just answered that question just by looking at this scene, just on, just as layman's, exactly. Chris Banks, right? Nearest car to the exit.
Exactly. I mean, who would want to start running down Shore Parkway? All it takes is for a car to come down the corner, which happens often, and somebody sees you running away. Whereas once you're in the park, especially at nighttime, it's pretty, you're pretty stealth.
And let's not forget,
and you have multiple options to come out of that park.
Exactly. And that Berkowitz scoped all this out beforehand.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. And more to your point, John, which I think is an excellent one, about him running away, he would want to be as close to the entrance of the park as possible, because Zano was here. Look how many people were in this area. Right. This critical 40 feet of him running could have been the difference between him getting caught and him not, right? So I personally think that it had everything to do with the entrance way to the park, and I had no clue whatsoever in my mind's eye when reading the book that this was the lay of the land. I just never thought of it. But it's so obvious when you see it.
I agree 100%.
Uh-oh. What do we have here? A spiral. Oh my God. I'm throwing everything out, John. It's the process.
That is that was on the Son of Sam letter, the Borelli letter.
Yeah. All right. So let's carry on with this great what we're doing here. All right. So we have Don Sherriman. Now we have the Raymonds. Okay, now the Raymonds were the ones who took their dog for a walk on Shore Parkway. Okay. The only problem is they did it at 11 o'clock at night. So let's find the Raymonds. Hold on. Let me get to the Raymonds here. The Raymondos. Where were the Raymondos? So the Raymondos are right over here.
Yes.
Okay. So they're, so real quick, I want to just 2D this. All right. So again, just to get our bearings, here's the park. The barns are here. The tow truck driver's about here. Don Sherriman is here. Robert and Stacy are here. Tommy Zano's here.
Yes.
And at 11 o'clock at night, of course, Maury Terry says it's at 1:30 in the morning, but the police report says 11 o'clock. So I'm going with the police report. The Raymondos see a guy walking around here who's suspicious at 11. Now, I just put this in there because we use this police report, but I think the Raymondos, whoever and whatever they saw, doesn't matter. It's 11 o'clock at night. It's 4 hours before the scene. So I don't know if you have any opinion on that, but I think I'm going to move on.
My opinion is I agree 100%. They had absolutely nothing to do with it, but it just goes to our point, how there was all kinds of activity all night long happening at this park.
People walking around, walking their dogs at 11 o'clock, going to their mother's house at 2:15 in the morning. I mean, geez, it's insane. All right, hold on. All right, so this is the Raymonds. Now we have the Vignolas. Okay. Resident. So these people, he stated that he was with his wife in his car parked on the Shore Parkway Road between Bay 16th and Bay 17th about 1 a.m. and that they observed a male come off the footbridge that goes over the top of the Belt Parkway and approach a yellow VW. And then that this guy was the one who was going to get into the VW. They said he noticed them and then he walked into the park. I personally don't think he noticed anybody. I just think he just walked to his car and then walked into the park. It was very innocent. But so we have here the Vignolas, all right, which are actually the Vignatis in the Ultimate Evil. So let's go to where they were.
Oh, they were between Bay 16th and Bay 17th?
Yeah. Notice how far away they were from the footbridge.
I had thought they were closer to the bridge.
Exactly.
So there's no way the person in the Volkswagen saw them see him from that.
Great point. I didn't even think about that, John. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Wow.
It says they were parked between Bay 16th and Bay 17th. So that's where I put the marker.
It does say that.
I even favored a little bit towards the front here. But notice, everybody in the audience, John, you're brilliant, man. Absolutely
for
great.
Home, Manny,
Here's the footbridge.
For everybody that's watching, if you pull up on YouTube the old news clips of Son of Sam, Geraldo Rivera actually interviewed this guy, Vignati, or Vignola, or whatever it is that they called him.
Right.
You could see he gave an interview to Geraldo where he repeated this story.
He repeated the story. All right, so great. So this is so far as our biggest revelation. The simple fact that the Vignatis were parked here, it's echoes of Cecilia Davis being 75 yards away from the Ford Galaxy. How did they make out these details, and how did this guy see them and then respond to them and go back into the park? Look how far that is.
Yeah, so if the streets he gave the police are right, there's no way whoever was getting into that Volkswagen would have seen them see him.
I'm going to take it down to the street.
Yeah.
So right here is where the Vignatis were parked. Let's just say that this is the Vignatis.
Yes.
Dude, you can't even see the footbridge from here.
Yeah, it's too far.
Let alone make it out. You had all these trees in the way. Where's this yellow VW? Maybe it's parked over here. Maybe you can kind of make out, but again, middle of the night.
Nah, that story does not make sense.
I'm taking us to the footbridge right here, just so we can drive to the footbridge to see how far it is. I mean, we haven't even gotten there yet. Here's the footbridge right here. So this is where they say that the guy came out and got into a yellow VW and they saw it. Let's now look down the block. They were parked way, way down here.
Yeah. So
between these two buildings, there's no way.
So right. So if a guy was getting into his Volkswagen here, he could see someone at those buildings seeing him. It's completely impossible. You need binoculars.
Well, that's what Mummy Evans just said.
So either he made a mistake on the streets, or we're going to have to throw that story in the trash. Thank you, Paul.
I'm throwing it in the trash. I have no problems throwing things in the trash. All right. So, all right, that was great. And this is the one of the reasons why it's so important to do this work. All right, so let's take our next one. Okay, so now this is the Vignolas, the Vignottis. Now the shooting has occurred. Okay, so now we are now into the aftermath period of the shooting. Shooting has occurred. So real quick, let me just set up the audience. So, second here, control there. I just want to get south again. I always want to orient us to the south, looking north. All right, so setting up the audience. The Raymonds, so you see somebody at 11 o'clock at night. Okay. The Vignottis see somebody allegedly, right? I don't know how they could do that. Here is the Barnes, the lost bracelet. Robert and Stacy are right here making out. Spagnola has seen somebody before. He was parked over here. This is a mistake. Sherman's driving on the highway about 45 minutes before. He sees someone here. Lots of activity going on. People partying. Lots of things happening. So then Berkowitz shoots Stacy and Robert and runs back into the park. That's where we're at now. Yeah. Now we have the beautician story. So about 100 yards away on the opposite side of the park at 17th Avenue exit, a beautician who is seated in her car with her boyfriend sees a white male with dark eyebrows, possibly a denim jacket and wearing a light-colored wig, enter a small light-colored auto, it doesn't even say yellow VW, and speed away. He looks like he just robbed a bank and so on and so forth. All right, so let's find out where the beautician was. Yes. So real quick, so now we're getting to 17th Avenue. So, yes. So first thing, this is Bay 17th Street right here. This is where Berkowitz was parked. Here's the fire hydrant, and here's Cecilia Davis. It gets confusing for a lot of people, including me, because now all of a sudden you have 17th Avenue. Yes. But this is just the way the streets work here. So 17th Avenue is over here. Yes. Okay. So the beautician, I had her in an apartment. She should be like, she's somewhere around here.
I believe they were sitting in her car, the beautician and her boyfriend.
Correct. They were sitting in her car.
And it's probably, I would think,
probably somewhere around here because they saw someone leave this entrance of the park.
Yes.
They saw someone leave. So real quick, this is the north entrance of the park.
That is the 17th Avenue and 17th Court entrance of the park, where Berkowitz said all the young people were hanging out in their cars, right there in that area.
Exactly.
And the beautician was probably parked slightly if you turn to the left.
Probably like right around here.
One of those cars.
One of those silver cars, right. And just so we can orient ourselves for the audience, Robert and Stacy are like way down here by the shore.
Right.
Okay. Berkowitz is parked over here through this courtyard right here. Right. And so this beautician sees someone coming out with a wig right about here and get into a small color and speed away and then go up 17th court here, drive north right here.
Yes.
Okay, now we don't know who that was. I would surmise it was probably normal who heard shots and hightailed it out of there, just like every human being on the planet does when they hear a shot. They don't stick around. They start running. Okay, so that's what happened this evening, and I believe the beautician just someone running out of the park, getting the hell out of Dodge because they just heard gunshots, just like what any normal person would do. So that's that area.
Although I think she said it was at 2:45, which was at least 5
You're
or 10 minutes
right.
after the shooting.
Duh. Sorry, John.
No, that's all right.
You are absolutely correct. So Catherine's asking what time of year it was. It was the middle of summer. So absolutely, there would have been leaves. It was July 31st, Catherine. So it would have looked exactly like this. Exactly like this. This might even be less lush than it would have been because this looks like it could be springtime and the leaves just emerging. So so again, I just want to have people orient themselves just so we know. Again, now we are looking at the Shore Parkway on the north. Here's the bay.
Right.
Here's where Tommy was and Robert and Stacy was. So this is where the beautician right here saw someone run out right there.
Yes.
All right, so let's carry it on. So now we have Mrs. Robert Bell. At the same time, Robert Bell, 17th Avenue. Someone 20 seconds after the shots were fired. Likewise, a visiting nurse tending to a patient on 17th Avenue also sees the shot and looks out to see a yellow Volkswagen. Now, interesting. I'm just reading this for the second time. Maury puts these two events together. But first of all, there was no police report for Mrs. Robert Bell. I never saw any police report for that. Okay. So I don't even know whether that's true. But notice how he manipulated this, because the visiting nurse, if she sees the yellow Volkswagen leaving, and that's the same car that the beautician saw, then that had to have happened at 2:45, 10 minutes after the shooting. Right. Yet he puts it in with this 20 seconds after the shots were fired.
And there's no report on Mrs. Bell.
But there's no report. I looked like crazy for this report. There's no report of this at all in the Brooklyn files. So I think this might be another manipulation here. But in either case, we're not here to have those discussions so much as we are just to look at the sites. So again, the visiting nurse was on an apartment on 17th Avenue.
Yes.
She was right here. And again, I want to kind of like turn my thing around. So I always want to have it from south to north. All right. So the visiting nurse is here. She sees a yellow car speed up towards 17th Avenue. The beautician was parked over here. She saw, of course, it was 10 minutes later, saw someone leave the park and get into a small colored auto and speed away. It doesn't say it was a yellow VW. Yes. So this is where the visiting nurse was. All right. Well, now we get into Alan Masters' story. And we don't need to go through every little detail of the story. What I've done for you guys is I've just made a visual representation of the story. So real quick, I want to start it over here at the Bay Parkway exit. Okay. So first things first, again, let's orient ourselves. Here's the park. Here's where all the activity's happening, right here. Alan Masters gets off the highway here. Okay. He travels north on whatever street this is. I think it's Bay 8th Street.
Bay 8th Street, yes.
Okay. He makes a turn here down Cropsey Avenue. Okay, correct. Now.
Very good. You're a Brooklyn guy now.
I'm telling you, man. Put this together. I know these streets better than you probably at this point. I'm just kidding. But I know them pretty well now at this point. So right here is where he has the collision. Almost has the near collision. Now, interestingly enough, his report of this happening at around 2:50, right? Because he has this happening at 2:50, 2:55. I can see that being the same car that the beautician saw and that the visiting nurse saw.
So can I. Not Mrs. Bell, but
not Mrs. Bell, because there's actually no police report for Mrs. Bell. I don't even think Mrs. Bell existed. I think he made that up. I could
see it being the beautician, the same car.
Yeah, because the guy gets into the car, speeds away north. So if a small car is speeding north,
yes,
okay, it would make sense just intuitively that car could potentially have a collision with somebody at this intersection.
Correct.
So let's just assume it's the same car. We don't know that to be the fact, but let's just assume it is. So that person leaves the park, hightails it out of there. The beautician sees them. The visiting nurse sees the same car. This car then drives north here on 17th Avenue. Sorry.
Yes.
goes through the light, turns left, and Masters is going this way, eastbound. So he's going from on your screen, left to right, left to right. So they almost get into a collision right here. So this is where the motherfucker thing happens. He screams out, "Motherfucker!"
As he was holding the door closed, he screamed,
right as he was holding the door. Even though in another report he had his hand on the roof, I think it was. I don't even know. There's so many, but yeah, exactly. All right. So then what happens is Alan Masters then makes a U-turn, follows the car back down Cropsey.
Yes.
Where the VW makes a left turn right here.
And
what we're going to do is we're on 15th. And what we're going to do now is go down to the street view and check this out. Okay, give me a second here. Let me get up to Cropsey. Now all of a sudden it's wintertime. What the hell is going on? Yeah. All right, hold on. Something's going on here. It's not letting me. Let me get back to here. All right, so the VW makes a left turn here. Let me just get back to my orientation that I like. Apologies to the audience. So the VW makes a left turn here, goes down. What's this? 15th?
Oh, no, I got a little disoriented.
I think he went down 15th.
He went down 15th Avenue.
Right, 15th Avenue. So he goes down here. He makes an illegal right turn here onto Independence.
Yes. Now, do you remember when I said it struck me that he might have been somebody familiar with the area?
Yeah.
Because you see that illegal turn he made here?
Perfectly to the Belt Parkway right here.
It goes right to the Belt Parkway. It's a street you'd never know existed if you weren't from the neighborhood. And it's not the path people would take to the Belt. You would take Cropsey to Bay 8th, and the sign even says Belt Parkway with an arrow.
Right. You would take this right down here to Bay 8th right here. You wouldn't go down. So excellent point. I get so excited when you do this, John.
Yeah. That's why I had brought that up last time. It seemed like the person was familiar with the area.
And I think it's one of the greatest points to make because remember, it's supposed to be Barry Dosenko and Wheat Carr in this car, right?
Yeah.
How are these people going to know such intimate details of this neighborhood? Now you could say that they were there scoping with Berkowitz, but give me a break, guys. That's like comic book stuff. This person who's here in the park over here and hightailed it out of there and knew all these local streets and made this illegal right turn down a one-way street just so he could be very, very in the perfect location to then cross the yellow line and get onto the highway.
Right.
I agree with you, John. He knew the neighborhood.
Yeah, and he was probably hoping that the person chasing him wouldn't have the nerve to go down the one-way street.
Correct.
And that would be an easy way to lose him. Or if not, he was going to get right on the highway and outrun him.
Exactly. And he probably thought, and I could conceive this, that was the son of Sam chasing him.
That's also possible.
It's a possibility. I'm not saying it was the truth, but it's a possibility. Wow. All right. Good stuff. All right. So let's carry it on. So we got Alan Masters. Now we got this person here, Valenti. This is your aunt and uncle.
That is my aunt.
So now Valenti sees at 3 a.m. So now in the Ultimate Evil, John, just quickly, how does Maury doesn't say it happened at 3 a.m. He kind of implies this is like right after the shooting, correct?
He wrote shortly after the shooting. Another witness observed a suspicious car making a getaway.
Right.
Something I'm paraphrasing, but it's something.
Correct. It's very close. Well, here's the actual interview. It took place at 3 a.m. It was a car going down the wrong way with lights blinking towards the park. Hardly. So here it is right here, just so people can see. So I have Valenti right here. Okay. Yes. Now I didn't know exactly where they lived on that block. Maybe you can tell us. I don't know if it matters.
I don't remember the address, but if you go on the street, I'll show you the house.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
It always takes us too far, but I can get there. Hold on.
Actually,
yeah,
it's good if you can go down the street because I want to make 2 points when you get to the corner. Yeah.
All right. So we got to get to that next corner.
Yeah, it's right after this gray car. You've been making a right. This is the street that Tommy Zano turned down also when he sped away from the shooting, Bay 14th Street. Now, do you remember what I was trying to tell you? How the street goes down away from the park? You see how the cars are all facing down?
They're facing north.
North, correct. The police report plainly states that the person was coming opposite traffic towards the park.
Towards the park, right. So
that's
let me
what
just
I was trying to say, but of course, because we couldn't see it, it was
right.
kind of hard.
So in other words, this block is a one-way street going north.
Right. It travels north, away from the park.
And the car was traveling down, blinking with blinking lights, going south towards the park.
Right.
So hardly a conspirator.
Which is why we all assume it was probably another detective responding, or plainclothes responding to the shooting.
Right, exactly. And Maury Terry has that as a getaway car.
It was actually a going to, not a getaway.
Exactly. Because it was going to the park. Remember, it was traveling the wrong way down here to go to the park, most likely.
Yes.
So that puts the lie to that. All right. So that was the Valenti. Now what do we have here? So we have other VW sightings. So we have this thing of the high cheekbones. Hold on. Let me get there. That's this one right here. I believe it's a red VW. And this one was seen
on 86th and 4th Avenue.
You know what? I
might not have.
Yeah, I might not have put that one down. I might have done that one actually. Now that I think about it, hold on. Robert Violante. Oh wait, no, it's over here. Right here it is. High cheekbones, right here. So first things first, I want to just here's the center of activity right here. Here is this police report. I'm sorry, I'm not even showing it.
Yeah, you still have the report on.
Yeah, sorry guys. Here's the center of activity right down here. Here is that police report that we just saw. So I think we can safely assume that it had zero to do with any of this.
Yeah.
Okay, because look how far away that is. Okay. And again, Maury did not put that in there, but I put that in there because it was a sighting with someone with a high cheekbones, and Maury said that the driver had high cheekbones. Remember the description, high cheekbones? He used that.
And it was just another example of how many calls and reports were made.
Exactly. So this one, for some reason, another VW at the scene. I can't read the top because I have some captions on top here. What does that say at top?
Detective Kizalunski of the 100.
No. The header. What does that say at the top there?
Oh, here's a Volkswagen at the scene.
Okay, here's a Volkswagen at the scene. Okay. So again, let me just get to full screen here. Detective Kislovsky did observe a male and female exit crossover ramp of Shore Parkway. Approximately 5 minutes later, enter green Buick. Okay, so Miss Bazo further states that she made these observations at 2:30 and her auto was 100 feet from rear of subject vehicle, and they were in a Volkswagen. All right, so let's find out where their Volkswagen was. They were 100 feet behind. So they were Bazo's, the Bazo red VW. All right. So here it is right here.
So they were about coming over that bridge, Manny.
Right. They were coming over this bridge. Hold on. Sorry. Duh.
The crossover ramp.
Okay. They were coming over here, and then their car was parked around here.
Yes.
I got to see that again. I'm sorry. I got to see where they were parked again. Okay.
Directly across the street.
Directly. All right. So all right. So they were probably like 100 feet rear. Okay. So they were 100 feet behind. They were 100 feet behind Robert and Stacy. All right. So Robert and Stacy were right here. So this is right around here where Don Sherriman was. I'm sorry, he was down here, but right where the tow truck was a little bit later. This was where the red VW was seen, right here.
So if you read this report, Manny,
yeah,
she sees Robert and Stacy enter it says a green Buick.
Okay, so let's get down to the street here and check this out.
Yeah.
All right, so they're parked around somewhere here, where this Honda is or Toyota is roughly. That's about 100 feet behind Robert and Stacy, who are right here where this white car is right here.
You still
This
have
is
the report up, Manny.
Oh,
Nobody
duh.
can see it.
Yeah, I'm very sorry, guys. I get very excited. So here is where the red VW was. Here's the overpass. Here's where Robert and Stacy was right here. We're right here.
Yes.
So they can see someone coming off. So these people in a red Volkswagen, which was parked right here,
were walking over the bridge.
Right.
And they saw Robert and Stacy walk into Robert's car.
Walk into their car, and they could easily observe that if they were parked right here or right here. Easily observe that.
Yes.
So it's not like the barns that are parked halfway down this block.
Well, the Vignola was down that block. The barns, I think, were on the corner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. Vignotti's were down this block here. The barns were right about here.
Yes.
So the Bazos in their Volkswagen, by the way, a red Volkswagen, but in a Volkswagen Beetle. So there's the Volkswagen Beetle at the scene, at least one of them. They're parked right here, and they left before the shooting.
Yes.
That could have easily been the VW that Zano heard, although he said he saw a fastback, a square roof. But in either case, this is where the Bazos were, and they were in a VW. And again, if they were in a VW Beetle, which I think it was, it doesn't say what kind of VW it was, but most likely it was a Beetle. So there was a VW Beetle right here, and then right in the vicinity that everybody could have went and seen. So there's a VW. Okay, now it's red, but you know, they called it a green Buick. It was brown. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
These things could be, I mean, I don't see how you could confuse red for yellow, but in either case, I think the yellow VW was actually up here.
Yes.
In the north end of the park. But so now we have, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You know what would be a cool thing to do? Maybe if you want to go to Tommy Zano's car and then turn back, kind of see the view he had that night in his rear view mirror. If you want to do that later on.
No, let's do it right now. When you get great ideas, let's execute them. I think the audience is cool. All right, so again, real quick for the audience's sake. Here's Robert and Stacy's car right here.
Right.
Okay. Tommy Zano 2 or 3 cars ahead. So they're in this car right here.
Yes.
They're in this car right here, this Mercedes, although it was a blue Corvette that night. All right, so let's turn around and look and see what Tommy Zano could see.
So this is just so you get an idea of how close he was to the shooting.
Yeah.
So you can see the entrance of the park, and Robert's car would be that car that's parked by the lamppost. So that's kind of what he saw in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, and you can easily see how he was the best witness to this, because look how clear his view was.
Right.
Now, I don't think.
Of course, I guess he would have been a little to the side, but
exactly. But you know, he could have moved his rear view mirror to see it. But yeah, you can clearly see not only Robert and Stacy, the side of their car, or at least hinting at it from his angle. But the most important thing is that his observation of the guy doing the shooting and then hightailing it back into the park, you can clearly see how he could see that from this angle. Because here's the entrance to the park right here.
Could you imagine in the height of that Son of Sam, he saw a guy squatting down and squeezing off 4 or 5 shots into that car? I mean, what a horrible experience.
I know. Right? It's terrible. So someone asked this question right here. I just want to get to it before it goes away. How much smaller would those trees have been back then, Manny? Well, those trees probably would have been very small, but we do not know the Parks Department tree planting schedule. We don't know if these are the original trees that were there that night. We don't know anything about the landscaping. And let me tell you something, street trees in New York City don't really last that long. And
you can look at the black and white photos that are on the Son of Sam website anyway. They have
great
the police cars there and Robert's car.
Yeah, great point. Actually, we should bring those up. I do it now, but I don't want to lose this screen. So Great question, but there's a lot that goes into that to answering that. You're assuming, Mummy, that all those trees are exactly the same as they were, and we can't make that assumption. Great question, though. I really do appreciate that question, because it also allows me to speak about horticulture too, which is my thing. All right, so let's carry on. So this is the same Volkswagen. All right, so we don't need to go through that again. So basically, just real quick. Again, that Volkswagen was parked somewhere around here where my arrow is.
Yes.
Okay, so a Volkswagen Beetle. I'm going to assume it's a Beetle because I think it said that it was a red VW Beetle. There was a VW Beetle right here at the scene with its very famous sounding engine, very distinctive sounding engine that everybody could hear. A VW left the scene. It came back after the shooting as well. So no wonder people were seeing VWs. There was a VW at the scene, a completely innocent explanation. All right, let's carry it on here. Same one. Now we have this black Volkswagen, okay? And let me tell you something. The only reason we bring this up, excellent audience members, is because, again, the police were taking these reports seriously. They were taking this report just as seriously as they were taking all the other reports of VWs speeding away and people with wigs and so on and so forth. So here we have at 3 a.m., a man parked his car near Bay 17th in Rutherford Place and was walking with his girlfriend when a black VW with a male white, blonde hair and mustache pulled up and stated he was a police officer and that the .44 caliber killer had just struck again. All right, so Bay 17th and Rutherford Place is where we're looking for now.
Ironically, my great grandmother's block.
Oh, no kidding.
I was actually on that block the night of the shooting at a block party.
Tell us where. All right, but real quick. So here's the scene right here. Okay, here's the shooting scene again. Tommy Zano, Stacy down here.
Oh, God.
Sorry, man. All right, so here's the scene down here, right here. Okay, and here is the black VW right up here. So close, but not that close.
Right. I mean, it's 2 avenue blocks and a quick little right.
Where was that block party?
7th, Bay 16th between Rutherford and Bath.
So that would be right here.
Yep.
And so you were at a block party right here. I should have put the blue marker, Catalano's block party. and then all the action is taking place down here. So yeah, a fairly decent walk, not majorly far, but not close either. So we're talking
2 blocks here.
Yeah, 2 or 3 blocks away. Not a big deal. All right, so that was close enough that the police took this black VW very seriously. Okay, black VW, other car sightings. So now we have this dark colored auto that someone saw someone go into at 12:15. There was a male white 30, muscular build, mustache, dark hair. Looked strange. He walked to the fence line in the middle of the block and entered a dark green mid-size auto. All right, so we have that one right here. So let me do this real quick, and then we have the dark color was right down here. So again, the dark colored auto is basically where the Vignottis were, where the barns were, right here on the south side of the park. Spagnola, Sherman, Robert and Stacy are here. Zano's here. This is where the dark colored auto was. And again, we have no clue. It probably had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with this crime at all. All right, now let's look at the mustard colored Maverick. So this was at 240, again, exited his residence, 17th Court towards 17th Avenue, made a U-turn in the cul-de-sac. So this is a car actually like making U-turns right after the shooting, which could be considered somewhat suspicious. So 17th Court, Bay 16th and Bay and 17th Avenue. So let's take a look and see where that is. The mustard colored Maverick. Let me get back to the screen here. Mustard colored Maverick.
Yeah, that's the same block the beautician and her boyfriend were parked on.
Correct. Same block. And this is right after the shooting.
Yes.
And that's a small yellow auto. So this
Yes.
could have been the same car that the beautician saw.
So this guy saw him come up 17th Court, swing into the entrance of a park, and kind of make a U-turn and go back, right?
Yeah, let's
He's
do
kind of
that.
making a K-turn.
Hold on. I don't know what's going on here. Hold on. Hold on. So he made an entrance into the park?
No. It sounded like he was describing that he made like a K-turn. So he was coming the yellow car was coming this way, the way we're looking.
So at the stop sign.
Yes, he was going straight. Then he turned left, turned back, and he kind of made a U-turn off.
So he probably used this. He probably used this right here to make a U-turn here.
Like a K-turn. Why don't you let's look at the report quick one more time just to make sure.
Sure. All right. He was in his residence. There was a short period of silence, the sound of a horn, and then screams. He exited his residence about 60 seconds after the scream, looked in all directions, and saw no persons. As he was standing in front of the park, a gold door, four-door Maverick came up 17th Court toward 17th Avenue, made a U-turn in the cul-de-sac, front of park entrance, and proceeded towards Bay 16th Street. So you were correct.
So he made a K-turn and went back the other way.
Right. So the car was, let's just get back to the top version. So he was coming again on, and I want to get it to my preferred orientation here of south to north. So this is Bay 16th right here. No, 17th.
Well, that's 17th Court.
17th Court. So he was going here.
Right.
He made a U-turn right here and then went back to 16th Avenue, which is right here.
To Bay 16th.
Bay 16th Street, which is right here. Exactly. All right. So that was a car that, well, why didn't Maury Terry put that in the Ultimate Evil? It was just as suspicious. It's a car that was leaving the scene, making U-turns, going down the block in the direction that it came from. Right. Why wasn't that suspicious according to Maury Terry? Because he was focused on this yellow Volkswagen to the exception of all other cars.
And the point is,
sorry,
rather than reading it in a report, now you could see how all these people were right literally in that 3 square block perimeter around the park. You could see all this stuff was happening, right? And everybody was seeing everybody,
Yeah, everybody was seeing everybody, and including they saw David Berkowitz too. Now this is a report that, again, why didn't Maury Terry use this? Because this is real suspicious. A blue Oldsmobile going around the 20th Avenue. 20th Avenue, time and time again, making U-turns, not parking at open parking spots. A blue Oldsmobile. Okay, well, let's find out where that blue Oldsmobile was. The blue Oldsmobile was way over here.
Yes.
Okay. But again, and so again, here's our scene of the action, and Bay 20th is over here. Here's where the blue Oldsmobile was.
Yes.
Now
he was acting very suspicious. So I can understand why people reported it. He was
correct.
By like as if he was scoping it or looking for something.
Right, exactly. And we can see it would be in there. And of course, this could have been thrown into Maury's narrative too. He could have, right? There was a blue Oldsmobile seen driving around, going around people 6 times and not parking. But the problem was the blue Oldsmobile didn't fit into the yellow Volkswagen. It would have diluted the importance of the yellow Volkswagen. Again, Maury Terry had us think that there was only 3 cars there that night. 4. Howard Bohans with Cecilia Davis, David Berkowitz, Tommy Zano, and Robert Violante and Stacy. Only 4 cars there that night. And of course, the yellow Volkswagen. He didn't tell us about any of this other backstory. All right, let's keep it going. We're doing well. We only have a few more to look at. The Chevy Vega. Now, this one was really interesting because now we get into the aftermath of the crime. So again, witness stated that they were coming from Stephen's father's bar and grill. Stephen felt nauseous and drove to Bay 17th Court with Rosemary. They turned into Bay 17th from Cropsey Avenue and parked at Bay 17th Court and Bay 17th Avenue, an area now which everybody is very familiar with, but we'll look at them again. Arriving at approximately 2:45. As they pulled up, and again, approximately here, Alan Masters looked at his watch. He said it was 2:55. These people are just saying approximately. As they pulled up, they heard screams coming from the direction of the park, and after exiting car, observed the male white, identified as Robert Violante, standing and staggering. All right, so let's get down to here. Okay, so Delmonica also stated that he did observe approximately 3 or 4 persons leaving First House off the park on the north side of the street and enter a beige VW, which was parallel parked. And then he also stated that he observed a brown Vega parked across from his auto facing north, which was not there when he arrived. So this is telling me a few things, John. Number one, let's get to the scene. The Chevy Vega was in this area again, 17th Court and 17th Avenue.
Yes.
This whole area here, Chevy Vega was right here. They saw the beige VW leave right here. Okay. Yes. So there's a VW leaving with 3 to 4 people in it. So that's another VW being seen at the scene. A beige is very similar in color to yellow.
Yes.
And then of course there was the Chevy Vega that showed up that wasn't there before. So that's telling me that cars were coming and going, even as this crime was just had been committed. Cars were leaving, cars were coming. Very easy for all of these people to make observations and think it's suspicious.
As I've said, there were moving parts and activity happening literally all night long. And the shooting, there was no exception. These people had no idea the shooting happened, and they pulled up to the park, right?
Exactly. And when you say that all night long, it reminds me of a song that, well, actually has aged well. All night long, all night. You have to sing the background. All night, all night. All right. Okay, so let's carry it on because we only have a couple more to show the audience. So we just did the Vega. Now, of course, this is just for shits and giggles. Again, this is the Datsun B210. Again, a small light colored automobile with the very, very important license plate number of 468 GUR. Because remember, we made the observation that they didn't care about what car it was, John. They cared about the license plate.
Yeah, that seemed to be what they were focusing on also.
Exactly. So now this was registered
46, whatever.
Right, 468 GUR, and the Ultimate Evil, it says GVR. So they were taking these license plates very seriously, and this brought them to where? This brought them to the neighborhood of Riverdale, up in the North Bronx, right, just south of Yonkers. So let's see again where this investigation was taking the cops, and for this we have to actually. Okay, everybody, remember, here's our center of activity. Look where the Brooklyn detectives went to go look for a car that thought was suspicious. Way up here at 259th and Arlington Avenue in Riverdale. And no, it was not my father, even though he owned the same car, and even though he was Berkowitz's military intelligence handler and the head of Operation Mockingbird, and the person who responsible for faking the Hunter Biden photos and all that fun stuff. And he shot Kennedy too. Exactly. Oh, did you know, by the way, that the Nettos were communists as well as my mother? She was a communist too, and they were all involved in JFK, because that's going around as well.
Oh wait, were they sponsoring the Fair Play for Cuba?
Yes, it was my mother and Mrs. Netto.
Amazing.
I remember my mom telling me on many occasions how she would lovingly caress Lee Harvey Oswald when he was feeling down, and Mrs. Netto would be in the kitchen making, asopao, right? And Lee Harvey Oswald didn't want to do it, but my mom convinced him to.
Was Frank Sturgis and David Ferry there also?
They were. But listen, this is getting into some very delicate family history here, John. I really, I'm sorry. It's already been exposed out there in the public, so I have to admit to it. But this is things that I've been keeping secret because my father put me up to this. He said, "All right, Manny, Maury Terry needs to be exposed as a hack. So you're gonna now go and do this video series and pretend to be a Maury Terry fan, and then slowly morph against him." Anyway, let's get.
So
Can
we
we
came
get?
to Riverdale, huh?
So we came all the way to Riverdale, and look how much closer to Disco Dave's than to the Brooklyn scene, right? Because here's Disco Dave. Because Riverdale in the Bronx borders Yonkers. Yonkers starts. I'm just going to tell you where Yonkers starts. It starts right about here. Right about here is where Yonkers starts. This road right here that you see snaking, that's Valentine, and this is where Yonkers starts right here. So there's no actual
Yonkers.
Yeah, there's no actual physical border there.
Right.
You just drive right from the Bronx into Westchester, and that's that. So again, but this is to show that the cops were taking all of these sightings of small cars seriously, not just the yellow Volkswagen. All right, so let's carry on with our last two slides, and then we'll say goodbye to the audience. Again, possible sightings of Berkowitz, and I didn't realize the importance of this at the time, but when I was looking back on this, when I was watching the video back, I realized
Anthony Galbo, very key.
Yes, Anthony Galbo is key because he pins the shots at about 2:30. That's very important. And he called the police. And then, of course, Mary Lane apartment, she's on Bay 16th Street, right there at the park entrance, will show. After hearing horn blow, saw a male white 25-30, curly brown hair, wearing a dungaree jacket and dungarees walk through paddleball court. And I just said it very matter of factly, but it's very, very crushingly realistic. That's David Berkowitz that she's seeing. This is the only time where we have a witness actually seeing David Berkowitz. That's him. Because he says
no doubt about it, Manny.
There's no doubt. And so let's see what she saw.
Yes.
Let's head back to Brooklyn. So the possible sighting of Disco Dave. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to trace his steps through the park.
Yes.
So first of all, she's here. Okay. Now, real quick, this is the cherry on top of all of this, because this is going to show you in stark terms that how Maury Terry totally manipulated this information. So Disco Dave is parked right about here under this tree. Okay. The shooting takes place right here. Let me pull it out a little bit so we can see all of this in one spot, in one thing. Shooting takes place here.
Yes.
Disco Dave is parked here. Now, he had two ways to get back to his car. Yes. Three ways, actually. He could have ran down Shore Parkway up Bay 17th.
Which would have left him exposed to witnesses or cops driving by.
Thank you. He could have gone down Shore Parkway and up Bay 16th and through the courtyard, which we'll show. But again, that would have left him very exposed, as you brilliantly pointed out.
Correct.
So his only option, and again, I believe he scoped this out with military precision because he knew that there was a whole option. Right. The smartest option from a military tactical standpoint would be to hightail it back into the park, go through the paddleball courts, which she saw him come out of, right?
Correct.
Dungarees walk through the paddleball court. Here's the paddleball courts right here. And then he leaves through a hole in the fence in the paddleball court. Seen right here. He just simply goes across the street, goes into this courtyard, which we can't see, but this actually is a courtyard that goes directly through to the other side.
You could actually show them the courtyard from where his car was parked.
I will in a second. So okay. He runs down here and he gets into his car right here. Let's do that. Let's do that on Street View.
Okay. We still have the report on screen, Manny.
Oh God. Got to tell me that now. Okay. I have to go back because I was showing a lot of things that Did I do that whole thing with the report on?
Yeah, it's okay.
No, it's not okay. Okay. I wanna just quickly do that again. Sorry guys, my apologies. So again, Robert and Stacy down here. This woman sees Disco Dave right here, coming out here. And again, he had three options to go. He could have gone down Shore Parkway and up Bay 17th, and John pointed out that would have left him very exposed. He could have gone down Shore Parkway, up Bay 16th. Again, very exposed. The smartest and most tactical military move that he could have made is through the cover of the park, out through the paddleball courts, which he was seen out here. Okay, now here's the paddleball courts. Again, here's where Robert and Stacy were shot. up through the park, turns right into the paddleball courts. He's seen coming out of here. This woman in this apartment over here sees him.
Yes.
She describes him perfectly. She saw Disco Dave leave this site. That's where he said that he left.
Yes.
So right now, the witnesses and the perpetrator are jibing with each other.
Yes.
He goes up here through this courtyard.
He makes a quick right, and his car
Makes
was
a
right
quick
there.
right, and he's right down there. Now let's take that back down to Street View. So here is again where Disco Dave is parked, right here. This fire hydrant.
Yes.
This courtyard is right here. Sorry, where is it?
Up a little further.
Up further?
Keep going the way you were going, just a little bit. Yeah.
It's hard to have it right here.
Right there. Yes.
Okay.
See, that courtyard cuts right to 17th Court and Bay 16th Street.
Let's take it up to the satellite view right from here. There's the courtyard. Oh, hold on, that was a little hard to see. Here's the same courtyard we were just at.
Yes.
Disco Dave is parked right here. Here's the courtyard. Follow it. Now the trees are in the way, but look, right out here, kitty corner right across the street from where the woman saw Disco Dave leaving the paddleball courts. And that is the best way to get out of that park after having shot someone right there.
Yes.
It just makes sense when you see it. I could never envision this reading the book, but seeing it.
Can you actually go down to the paddleball court and you could just turn around and you'll see the
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So people have the visual.
Okay, so Disco Dave leaves from a hole in the fence, or he could have left right from this entrance right here.
Yes. And if you turn to the right a little,
the courtyard is right here.
Yes.
So it's just up the block.
Right back to his car.
Here, I'm going to go up to that courtyard right there. Right there.
Yep. That's
okay.
Just on the
opposite side
of that. Yeah.
So now this is where this lady was living, right around here.
Yes.
Okay, in one of these apartments, and she's directly across the street from the damn paddleball courts where
he sees him coming out.
Was seeing him coming out. Again, we're not lying about this. Here's the report. She sees him exiting through the paddleball court, walk through the paddleball court. He says he left through a hole in the fence by the paddleball court. It's right there. He goes across the street, right through here, turns right 20, 30 feet. He's in his car and he gets the hell out of there. And how long do you think that takes to do?
Yeah, it's,
a minute if you're running.
Like I said, if you're walking normally, the most it could be is 2 minutes. If you're running, it could be less than a minute. Maybe
right. And remember, she said that it took 5 minutes. Maury Terry had it as 1 minute, I think, or right when she closed her door to her apartment. He manipulated that information too.
Maury had it as if it was impossible to do in 2.5 minutes.
Correct.
It's completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. And that was the most stark thing for me personally to see on this. The two things that struck out at me the revelation that he chose Robert and Stacy because they were the closest to the entrance had nothing to do with the lighting.
Right.
It was the perfect getaway. If they had been parked just up here, they would still probably most likely be alive today. Well, he's alive today. She isn't. And then he goes right into here again, avoiding the major streets. And he's not that far away. He's parked right here. I'm gonna do measurements right now. Okay. So from the park right here to here. Now I'm gonna do that in feet. 277 feet. Okay, not that far. From here to here. Write these numbers down if you can, John. 277 and then 275. Because I want to actually do this. I mean, we're not at the.
Can we do it in yards?
Sure, yards. Okay, so let me start over. So because
I relate everything to the NFL.
That's fine. So from Tommy's, sorry, hold on. All right, so we're doing it in yards. So from Tommy's to right to about here is about 89 yards.
Okay. 90 yards.
Then from here, we'll start new. So 90 yards to the end of the paddleball court is 83 yards.
Okay. So we're at, let's say 175.
Okay. Then we'll add another 26 to get across the street.
200.
Okay. Now we're going to go through the courtyard. Add another 68 yards to that.
270.
And then we are going down to the fire hydrant, add another 38 yards to that.
I had estimated 300 yards. It's pretty much right.
300 yards. So everyone out there in the audience, 300 yards is what it was to get there through this route. 900 feet. And I don't know exactly how fast a person like Disco Dave could have run that, but I think it's easily done within a minute and a half.
Well, according to Tommy, somebody was running real fast that night. So
right,
Berkowitz, he obviously wasn't slow.
Exactly. Well, let's see if I have any more graphics here. I think I have one last thing here. This is the same woman, Mary Lane. Let's see what she says here. She saw a male, white, 25-30, brown curly hair walk out from the paddleball courts and walk in direction of her building. That's even more confirmation. He was walking in the direction of her building.
Yeah,
which is just exactly what we said. Mrs. Lane is Mrs. Lane again is right here, right in this general area right here.
If you want to be fair to the Ultimate Evil crowd, I'll show you where the snuff film van was supposed to be, according to what Tommy told me years ago.
Okay, where was it?
If you go to Violante's car.
Okay, should we get on the street or stay? So Violante's car. Get onto the street? Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So Violante's car is, again, right here.
Okay, yeah. What Tommy told me was it was on the opposite side of the street. And
so right
2
here.
or 3 cars back. So probably right where that car's parked.
Right where this car is parked.
Would have been that the white Volkswagen making a snuff film.
I don't even see how that's even.
Is that even like an appealing angle?
It's not even an appealing angle. No, you're going around a bend. You wouldn't even be able to see anything.
I mean, you
certainly wouldn't be
see him shooting, but you wouldn't be able to see people getting shot and hurt. And isn't that what films are about? I mean, not that I've seen one.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This is brilliant stuff, because you're absolutely correct. And it struck me too, again, when seeing this for the first time in my life, because I've only envisioned it. I always thought this was a straight road.
Right.
No, there's a bend in the curve right here, a bend in the road right here. A pretty decent one too. Pretty decent angle this bend is. Okay.
I mean, so, I would think even if you zoomed in with a movie camera, you're not going to see the actual act.
You're going to see this corner. You can't see that window from that angle.
Yeah.
You don't only see somebody shooting into a car, which, dude, if you want that, I can just make that for you. If Roy Radin, if you want me to make a snuff film for you of me just shooting into a car, I'll be glad to do it. An empty car. I'll gladly do that for you, because it was about the same impact as the snuff film supposedly made that night. So I think we just debunked a whole bunch of myths here, and I think that this was a great episode. We don't have any more to do. I think our job is done.
Unfortunately, you can't actually navigate through the park on Google Maps, but
it
would be nice to show everybody where the swings were, where Robert and Stacy were, where Berkowitz was sitting, watching them. But, as soon as we can get in there, we can do like a 10-minute little walk around.
Oh, well, we're going to do more than a 10-minute walk around. Yeah. We're going to show all these scenes again, and we're going to do it. Right, exactly. And the Cosmos is saying not even facing the windshield. So if anybody wants to call in, I put the studio link there real quick. Other than that, I'm just going to say thank you to the audience. I was not paying too much attention to the chat, guys, today, just because I had so much technical work here to do. So my apologies if I missed any messages that were directed towards me. Nothing personal. It's just that when I get into this, you see, I'm even forgetting to take the things off the screen. And so I get very into what I'm doing, and I kind of forget about the chat.
Yeah, but, you did a really great job. I want to compliment you, because you plotted everything out great. The other night, I was really taken back when I saw how much you put into it, man. Good job.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate that. And let me tell you, we're not done. Tell the audience what we got starting next week.
Yeah, so we're going to be revisiting the Lamino Damasi shooting, and we're going to go over some testimony they gave to ADA Lifer and match that up with some police reports, and it's going to be pretty interesting. It's probably something that nobody should miss.
Yeah, I think that you guys are going to enjoy it, and I gotta say, I'm having a blast with these shootings. I mean, I shouldn't say I shouldn't say it like that, but you guys know what I mean. I'm having I never wanted to touch Brooklyn again. I told the audience I was afraid to be proven wrong, but of course we've shown conclusively, I believe, that Maury Terry completely lied to us. And I think, guys out there in the audience, next week we're going to be basically be doing it again with Lamino Damasi. And of course, the reason why I want to do that particular shooting, John, in the audience, is because that's the one that was attributed to John Carr. So we need to deal with that one as well. There's no point in doing Loria and Valentina. We already know that Berkowitz did it. I've already done Brooklyn. We've already done Boscorichian. You and I have already done Boscorichian. Yes. So that just leaves Lupo, which I've already done a video on, and I don't think there's any controversy there. Disco Dave did that one too. I think the main last shooting that's controversial is Lamino Damasi, and we're going to tackle that in 2 episodes. We're going to do Damasi first next Monday, and then we're going to schedule another show for Lamino, and we're going to listen to their tapes, and we're going to have an awesome time. So anyway, John, excellent show. Your observations, we could not have done this without you. I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I can't, the comments in this chat are just one nicer than the next. I really appreciate all you guys. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm sure they appreciate you, John. So listen, stick around. I want to say goodbye off the air, but I'm going to take the audience on out. All right, my friend?
Good night, all. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, guys. Well, listen, another legendary one is in the books. And of course, the cherry on top of the Brooklyn series. First 3 episodes dealt with, well, the police reports and how Maury Terry lied, manipulated, bullied, and abused. And of course, the cherry on top was today the Google Earth, because it's the next best thing to being there. And in fact, we could see things on this Google Earth that even being there might not reveal. So I think we learned a lot today. I think this is going to go down in Son of Sam history as probably one of the most important video series ever done in terms of just sheer information on the Brooklyn scene. I don't see how I can't even top it. So we're done with Brooklyn. There might be one pop-up because there's some interesting things about Robert Violante's testimony and this whole thing about the grubby hippie. A spoiler alert. Robert Violante never says the words grubby hippie in any police report whatsoever. So I don't even need to do a show on that. But we are coming back strong next week with Lamino Damasi. I'll be back on Saturday with a masterclass on how to use the Queen's DA files for your research. And we are basically taking the series out. I don't think it's any secret. Maybe it is, but I just want to let everyone know, so there's no hard letdown, that I am exiting the scene fairly soon. I am going to go into semi-retirement, not in permanent retirement. But there comes a point of diminishing returns. There comes a point when all I'm doing is rehashing the same old. We have some high impact shows to do. And then we are going to say a semi goodbye to each other as the winter steps in. So I just want to let everyone know now, so there's no weirdness when that all happens. But we'll deal with that when it comes to it. And hey, there's going to always be something that pulls me back in. But in the meantime, we got several shows coming up. They're going to be awesome. Cannot wait. I'm so appreciative of John and all you guys in the chat who makes this all worthwhile to do. So on behalf of John Catalano and myself, I want to say thank you so much, guys. And we will see you on the next show. Thank you so much.